Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Marjorie Falk. I know most of you, and let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been an art educator for about 50 years, and I most recently became a docent at the Cleveland Museum of Art, and I also teach private students, and I make jewelry like the glass jewelry that I'm wearing. So let me just give you an overview of what we're going to be doing today. Probably a month or so ago, Rabbi Hal came to me and he said, would you like to do an art project? And I said, sure. He said, well, do it on anything you want. And I thought, well, Purim's coming, so maybe I'll do something on Purim. And then I thought, well, masks, whether someone's mask is falling down or somebody's not wearing a mask, and now if they're wearing two masks, so it's very much on everybody's mind. So I thought of a project that I had done in the past with students, and it's adorning your face. And don't worry about if you don't know anything about art or you're not comfortable with art. If you can, we're going to use a photograph and we're going to have fun with the photograph. So don't worry about it. Sort of like when you were much younger and you maybe had a magazine and you put one of those handlebar mustaches on and you put exotic Cleopatra eyeshadow on. So that's pretty much what we're going to do. So this is what we're going to do. There's a short video we're going to watch. And then I'm going to give you the history of mask making and the reasons why we wear masks. And the materials, and then I will demonstrate and ones that ways in which you can embellish yours and supplies that you can either use. You could even just use a ballpoint pen, but I have a bunch of supplies that you could purchase if you don't have them. And then hopefully we'll be able to have, if everybody does one, you will be able to send it in and we could maybe have a gallery, a Banasher gallery. So that would be fun. So without further ado, David's going to put on a short Purim video for us.
Okay.
Just you have to click on here.
Oh. That's it. I'm not hearing it. Hang on one second. Hang on.
Yes, that's right. See it.
David, we're seeing the Washington Post.
Okay, thanks.
How'd you get it from? Option 10?
Alt tab.
I don't have an alt key, so whatever.
Should we see it later?
No.
Okay.
What do you see now?
Those are terrible.
There you go. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now. Share screening or, well,
You can share.
okay, do we see it now?
Not yet.
Now do you see it? You didn't see it yet?
No. Do you have the button now? Do you see it at the bottom?
Yeah, I see share screen.
Okay, so go ahead. Yeah. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Not, okay,
Um,
good.
this might look familiar to you, but it's actually from 1918 from the pandemic that we had then with women wearing face masks. And it looks like it could be today, except that the clothing is different and maybe we're wearing a more secure face mask. But this was the impetus behind this this project. So here we go. I'm starting with one of the very oldest masks. Masks have been used for many, many things. They've been used for religion. They've been used for protection, like we just saw. Firemen wear masks. Deep sea divers wear masks. If you're fencing or a football player, you wear masks. Some people use them for religion, for rite of passage, for fertility, for harvest, for to protect against illness. Sometimes ceremonial, like armor. In a parade, they'll use it for theater, for spirit. If you've ever been to a baseball game and you've seen sliders dressed up to get the crowd going. Sometimes for disguise, like for a bank robber, they don't want you to know who they are. And then for holidays like Halloween, Day of the Dead, Purim, and Mardi Gras. And they're all made out of many different materials, as you'll be seeing. This one is from the museum in Jerusalem. It's the oldest mask that I have come across. It's 9,000 years old. And right now in Jerusalem, there's an exhibit on these stone masks that were found in the hills near Jerusalem. This is another very old one. It's from Central America, and you can tell it's stone. Sometimes they're enormous by the square face and the open mouth and sometimes elongated ears. Here's another one. This one is from Mayan, and you can tell usually the Mayan ones because of the very large circular earrings. And the reason why I'm showing you these is to be giving yourself ideas when you're creating your facial decoration. Here's another one. This one is Aztec or Inca rather, and it's made out of turquoise. Most of these masks are made with the materials that they found with the indigenous people that were making them. So if you only have a ball pen at your house, that could be your material that you're going to use unless you want to make some more. And again, a lot of these in Central America have the large earrings. This one is Inca, and is made out of gold, and it was hammered gold. That's why the Spaniards, one of the reasons why they came into the Americas was for gold. And almost every one of the masks you're going to be seeing are symmetrical design. What's on one side is on the other side. And if you want to do something like that with your mask, I suggest you take your photograph with a front view. Here's another Inca one. It's made out of gold and it's hammered, but then they've added some kind of teeth and earrings by it as well. These are from the Greek, and they were used with the Greek theater. You know, the very expressive. The faces were quite expressive and distorted looking. Here's another. This one was part of a building though, but it was from the Greek time. This one's Japanese, and you can tell that it's Japanese. It's wood and it's lacquered, and from the smile and the curved eyes and the elongated ears. And this was done with theater, used with theater. And here's another one. If you've been really tense over the pandemic and you want to put in some worry lines on your face, you know, this is an example that you could be looking at for that. This one's from Thailand, and it's painted gold. Again, symmetrical design. Interesting that whatever culture and country I'm showing you, almost all of them are in design, and it's another interesting thing that we have all used masks. So, and then they're jewels. If you have any sequins at home and you want to put that in, and again, fancy earrings. King Tut, we're all familiar with that. If you want to put a false beard of Osiris on yours and a headpiece and use gold paint, that would be another fun way to go. When I was talking about that armor, the armor was used, more simpler ones than this were for protection, but the more elaborate that they got were designing them, and the more patterns and intricate work on them, they were used for pageantry. It was to show how wealthy a king was, or how wealthy the person wearing the armor was, that they could design the most elaborate coat of armor. And they oftentimes had feathers in them, and they would be in for pageantry and for parades. Now we're going to Africa. Africa is, very large, and there are so many different, there are at least 80 different countries in Africa, but something that they all have similar is they all use masks. Most of the masks there are made out of wood, like this one. Again, symmetrical design. You can always tell an African mask by exaggeration, like the nose is much bigger. The features of the face are geometric, half circles, ovals, diamonds, triangles, and there's patterns. If you see on the top forehead over there, there are patterns, and on the cheek, repeated patterns. A lot of times they got their inspiration from looking out and seeing animals, that they felt like the animals would give them extra power. They believed in ancestral devotion, ancestral worship. If they were having some kind of problem, someone in the community would put on masks. They would do dancing and prayers, and by wearing these powerful masks, they would grab the attention of their dead relatives and get help from them. They also use them in rite of passage. We have bar and bat mitzvahs, but there, if a boy or girl turns 13 or 14, they're usually taken with the elders out into a separate place, and the elders wear masks, and they perform certain rituals for them. So Africa. Here's another one. This one, you can see the inspiration from animals. And this one is interesting because it's not necessarily covering your head, because the raffia, it fits partially on your head, because the raffia then covers the person's face, and they can look out and see where they're going. Again, they're used in dance. It's interesting that the first Africans that came to Europe or the United States and they saw these masks in museums, they thought this was the weirdest thing. They were behind glass, and they said that masks were meant to be used and worn, and if they got broken or termites got them, so that didn't matter. Their purpose was to be touched and to be used, not to be just looked at. So I thought that was interesting. Here's another one: exaggerated mouth, exaggerated nose, trying to be looking very powerful. And you might be familiar that many artists like Picasso were inspired by saw these masks. The Pacific Northwest, Native Americans, also the Tlinklets, used masks as well. These were oftentimes painted, symmetrical design again, and they were inspired by animals that they saw. Here's another one. They were inspired by the raven, or by the beaver, or bear, or the whale. And these were beautifully painted, but you could put some feathers on yours, make yourself some sharp teeth like that. Now we're going to Mexico. Mexico, the jaguar was always a very highly regarded animal in their culture. And so at parades, people would wear, and they still do, wear these masks. So if you like something like that, you could just paint all over your face yellow, and then go in with some black dots. You could even use a Q-tip if you wanted them to be more regular and cut out and open mouth if you want. Mexican mask, and these are done for the Day of the Dead, which is usually the first or second in November. The strange thing about Day of the Dead, and you might know about it, but my students were always mortified that the celebration is held in a cemetery, and it's their way of showing their dead relatives that they're still cared about and they're loved, and that they don't want them to miss out on celebrations and parties. So the families go there the day before, they clean up all the graves, they set up tables, they set up lanterns, colorful lights. On the tables, they put the food that the deceased person liked to eat, maybe a photograph of them. If they played harmonica or some other instrument or something, they put that on the table. And it's a way of celebrating with those people that aren't celebrating. And there are lots of people wearing masks and skulls. They have banners around, they have mariachi music, and it's and they do this with the skulls because their philosophy is, well, we know everybody's going to die at some point, so we're just going to hit it face on, and we're going to decorate skulls and not make them scary or grotesque. I put this slide in. If you want to break up the design on your face, this just shows a way that you could do it symmetrically, you know, just to give you a basic form to work with. Now I'm going into masks that aren't really masks, they're facial paintings right on faces. This is from the Maori people in New Zealand, and these are tattoos, and they're very swirling and whirling. You may have seen young people today that have tattoos. A lot of them are very interested in this on the Maori people's faces. And they weren't the only ones that painted directly on their face. Here's an African person. And if you can do triangles and you can do lines and dots, you're in business. You could do that with your face. Here's another one, a little bit more intricate, using some color. Here's another one. This one is from India. And you can see the bindi is over there on their face, and some gold jewelry, and the skin is painted green. So now I'm going to show you some artists that have worked with either facial distortions, or in this case, this one is by a 16th century Dutch artist, and he was very interested in making things look so real. You can see the fur and the beautiful material on her head. She's got some jewels. This woman wanted to make sure of wealth, and she has her coat of arms here, and on the wall is a mask that she has. So I thought that was worth showing. Now we're going to go into George Rouault, a French artist who began his career as a stained glass artist. And when he switched over to painting, you can see the heavy black lines that are reminiscent of stained glass. And our Cleveland Museum of Art has one of his, it's a beautiful painting of Christ's head. And we have our own Marc Chagall over here, and I put this in here just because he liked to do circus scenes and was just sort of fun. You might want to put this kind of collar on and maybe a silly little hat like that one. We have Pablo Picasso. He also used circuses as a theme and has this hat, this like schmata kind of hat on, and the eyes are different and it's sort of scribbled. So don't worry at all about your artistic ability, and you could write your name broadly across the top like Picasso did. There's another one by Picasso. Then Vincent van Gogh, he was well known for thick paint, swirling lines. It was during his lifetime that paint was developed to come in tubes, and it took away the hours of preparing paint with linseed oil and other things to mixing it. And so he laid it right down on his canvas and then just took a brush. If you can see over here, the skin is made up of orange and green and yellow and brown and red, all kinds of different colors. And I have something else. I did one that started doing one in that style as well. You could just take watered down paint and put it over your face. This one may have been done in chalk. I just put this like 1920s from a silent film, but if you want to put makeup on, dark circles under the eyes and exaggerate the mouth. This one is a more contemporary Day of the Dead person. They not only wear the jaguar and the skulls, but they actually paint right on their faces. I just put a clown in because people like clowns, and so maybe that's going to be your inspiration. Here's one for Mardi Gras. It's a porcelain mask, so you could paint white and then paint butterflies or flowers on it. Then we have Andy Warhol. And Andy Warhol thought everybody should be famous for 15 minutes of fame. He was the original groupie. He loved to be around celebrities and movie stars. And this one, as you know, is Marilyn Monroe. And what our museum in Cleveland has the 100 Marilyns, and they're a repeated photograph of her that's been silk screened, and then each one is colored differently. So I just put in Prince just because I love the purple and the orange together. And then you could go back in and draw into it like he did with the hair and face. There's another one with Mick Jagger. You don't have to worry about things being inside shapes. You know, look at the lips are right outside on the face. I did Mao Zedong over here. I was thinking of, if you have relatives that live out of town, this would be an easy thing for you to be in touch with them. You could ask them to send you a photograph of them, and you could send them a photograph of yourself. And then all they need is a printer, and do it in black and white. And you could do a picture of them and send it back to them, and you know, email it back to them, and vice versa. Or you could take maybe grandpa's picture and have everybody in the family do a different image using the photograph. And that would be a fun thing to put all together. This was done by Shepard Fairey. He's a graffiti artist, and he lives in, I think, South Carolina. And he was asked for Obama to design a poster. So again, you know, starting with a photograph, but coloring it. This one I only put in, it's Kehinde Wiley, and he's known for very realistic paintings, but it's his backgrounds. And I thought you might, you know, if somebody really loves to put in details and design, you could do a beautiful background and then glue your portrait on top of it. He oftentimes looked at textiles, Renaissance textiles, and painted those in the background. Or if you have a flower catalog, a plant catalog, you could look at that for inspiration. He was asked to do the Barack Obama portrait for the, so if you go to Washington one of these days, you will see Barack Obama there. I just put this in because a lot of times people are taking their children to carnivals, and you see something simple like this. You could do something like this on your face. Here's another one. This, a few of them I have here of my students. This from some time ago. He was very shy and didn't want his picture taken, so so he included it with his hands covering his face, and I thought it, you know, it wasn't my original intention, but I thought it came out great like that. She was into Mahundi, the hand painting, and so she transferred it there. I put in a list of supplies that you could buy. Here's another one. You could do flowers and yellow eyeliner. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you if I figured this out. No, I didn't want to do what?
You want to stop share?
Stop share.
There we go. Okay, you're good.
So now I'm gonna, can they see me?
Yes.
You can see, okay. Wait, I just muted.
You just went on mute. Okay, now you're back.
I'm just trying to make myself bigger so I can see what I'm showing. Because you're big right now, David. Oh, I'm under view maybe?
Yeah, I'll try spotlighting you. Let me see if that works.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So I have some examples that I'm sure it's my granddaughter, Izzy. And what you're gonna start with is a black and white photograph. So take a photograph from like their collarbone up and make sure that it's very large and then just print it. On this one, I lightened it because if you want to be putting more colors or your own things on it, it's good to, if you want to lighten it up. And one of the things that I would suggest is taking a pencil and lightly break up the space so you know what you're going to be doing with it. And then I'll show you some examples of ones that I did. Here's one. I took watercolors and I happen to like praying. If you order these things through Michael's, they have a drive up. You can pick them up at Michael's or Dick Blick. You can order it. I think you have to spend like $30 though to have it delivered, or Amazon you could do it. But so these are praying watercolors and they come with a brush. So that's one of the nice things. So I used a lot of water and not that much yellow watercolor, but then I used a lot of pigment on her eyes, and I don't know if you can see. So they have sort of like a sparkle. This was just a beginning. Here's another one that was inspired by Rualt. I guess I was doing it and just outlining with thick black crayons. So you know, some crayons, you can do that. And then I have paints. I have a small set. You could buy something like that of acrylic paint or tempera paint. And so that's good. Other things that are fun are the highlights that you have, gold metallic paints, just small sets of markers, Sharpies, thin and the very thin are great to do this. What else? This gold tempera paint is it covers, it's very opaque, so it covers things up really well. And then I have glitter markers. Oops, glitter markers are good. The tropical markers, but because they're lighter in color. Glitter glue is fun to do. So you can do it with you know, yourselves, with grandchildren. Colored pencils, regular markers. So let me just show you a few more here. Here's another one that I started of Izzy. I was breaking up the space and I used the pearlized marker on her eyes. That was just sort of inspired by Marilyn Monroe. I started, and what you might want to do is cut them out so that you know you're not using a background like someone's house, but cut them out. And then if you're going to glue it down, either a glue stick or like Elmer's glue. And it's good to always just put glue around the outside. Glue has a lot of, especially Elmer's, has a lot of water in it, and it'll just make your paper ripply. So if you just put it around the perimeter and then maybe put some heavy books on it. Here's one that I was doing that was King Tut inspired. And here's another one that I was getting started on. Here's one I was doing of myself. I was changing my hair. I put silly big glasses on. I was doing those big earrings. Here's another one. And so I cut it out, and then I was working on some kind of a background to put it on. And then I talked to you before about the Van Gogh. So this is one of my other granddaughter that I was just starting to just apply paint right on the face. So that is about it. Let me just write down, I didn't do it beforehand. Let me just write down my email. If you would send it to me, if you do one and send it to me, that would be great. And maybe you can get your relatives out of town to do it as well and exchange them and have a family gallery. There any questions? No? Well, good. Thank you, everybody, for attending,
Thanks, Marjorie.
and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nice job.